What's up? What's up? We're back, folks. Another one, season 8, episode 31. Rinkcast. Jeff Blashill introduced by the Blackhawks. It's formal. It's official. He's coming. It's here. There's a press conference today. We've got that. We've got a lot of other talk. Jimmy's got great stuff coming up with Porter Martone as a possible draft target. We want to talk about UFA Sam Bennett. We want to talk about Frank Nazar and Vlasic winning gold at the World Championships. But what's up, fellas? Happy spring. Has spring finally arrived where you all are? I sure hope so. Jimmy, big lease day today. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you. Move-in day Saturday. New background very soon.
Big time. And Bardo, how have you been, my friend? What's going on?
All good. Can't complain.
Excellent.
Let's roll.
Shawnee, what's new in your world?
Living, learning, surviving.
Living, learning, surviving.
Yeah.
Wow. That's deep, Sean.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
Sometimes I'm not shallow.
Yeah. Very good. So we're going to start off the show. We want to talk about Jeff Blashill being introduced as the Blackhawks head coach. But ahead of that, Sean's got trivia for us. We haven't done trivia in a couple weeks here. Shawnee's got a good trivia question. We're going to start with that. Sean, what say you? What have you got for us?
All right. So Jeff Blashill is the 42nd Chicago Blackhawks head coach of all time. Since 2000, since post-2000, there have been 9 coaches. Can you name them? Just 9 head coaches with the Blackhawks. There's just 9. I'm not saying all 42. I'm not pulling a Jimmy here.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah. Interim counts? Do interim counts?
Yes, they do.
Or is it okay?
Interim count.
All right, let's start in reverse order. Obviously, you got Sorensen, Richardson, Colleton, King.
Yep.
King, Colleton, Glenville.
Yep.
And then Dennis Savard.
Yep.
Savard. Who was before?
Now we're stumped.
There's 3 left.
No, there was the Finn. Who was the Finn? What was his name?
Bardo's guy. Yep, Alpo
Suhonen, and there was one other.
Brian Sutter.
Sutter. And then there's an interim guy.
Lauren.
Lauren, that's right.
Lauren is one, but I'm thinking 06-07. Interim guy. Bruce Boudreau's guy. Led him to the playoffs. Trent
Yanni?
Trent Yanni.
All right.
All right, we got it.
Ooh, that was a good one. Jimmy, good idea going in reverse order.
Always smart to go reverse.
When I started going the other way, I was like, this is going to be a long one. But the reverse order, that's killer.
So,
good question. Good job, guys. Quick on that.
Yeah.
So, Blashill's introduced today. Jeff Blashill. All right, it's official. We talked last week about how it was only a matter of minutes before he was going to be appointed head coach. He's now hired. He had his first press conference today. How did he do in the press conference? Anything that he said that makes you feel better or worse about this? Jimmy, we started with you last time, kind of the not too high, not too low. Has that changed? Any comments coming from today where you're like, okay.
I think the biggest thing that I was impressed with his introduction is that he was both very realistic, but also very optimistic about this team's output. He sees his team as full of stars. He said that, I can't remember the exact quote, but he's like, this team has stars everywhere. Like, he has superstars everywhere on this roster. Mm-hmm. That got me excited because I think Blashill looks at this not as I need to make the playoffs right now. He looks at it as like, wow, I have a better shot here than I did with Detroit. What's the term? I cut my tooth down in Tampa. I learned under Cooper and Babcock. He mentioned both of those guys. And he's come in, like, his press conference, he came in with a ton of confidence. Like, he answered very straightforwardly. We all know Chicago media can be pretty straightforward, I would say, is the best way to describe Chicago media. And he stuck out. And I was pretty excited. I was also really excited. Probably the thing that got me most excited was Nick Foligno's comments afterwards. He really mirrored the confidence that Jeff Blashill had during his press conference. So all in all, I think Blashill has come in with a ton of confidence. I think he's shown a lot of maturity in his time since Detroit and his time with Tampa and how impactful it was. And I'm ready to ride. I feel good.
I like it. Good take, Jimmy. Bardo, what do you think? He made some pretty poignant comments about Connor Bedard and what he thinks of his ability and who he is. Did you hear any of that? And when you did, what do you think about
the whole
that?
Thing
Great.
I watched the whole thing start to finish.
Great.
Yeah, no, I watched it start to finish. He was great, I thought. Like Jimmy said, I think he showed a lot of confidence. What he said about Bedard is that he's not concerned one iota about, I don't know his exact words, but he said he has zero concerns about him and taking it to the next level. I think what I also really liked about him, he came across as also not only confident but genuine. I think he he's very realistic about things, and I also appreciated his how he sort of articulated his journey and especially how his 3 years in Tampa Bay sort of fit into his big puzzle. It's like he didn't walk in and say, I know what it takes to have a winning or what a winning organization looks like in a winning culture. Yeah, he's done it on the minor league level, collegiate level, but now he could actually say that from the NHL level, and he's learned that having been there for 3 seasons. So he knows what a winning culture, what a Stanley Cup contender looks like, and he can bring that. So he said, like, from day one, I could say this, and I could say it with confidence that I know what it takes. So, and I really like that. I appreciated that. So, we always hear that cliche. Did he win the press conference? Yes, he did. And most people should, unless you're Adam Gase or others. But I thought he was really, really sharp today. But yeah.
This clearly isn't his first rodeo. To your point, I didn't watch the whole thing. The comments that I heard, he was pretty sharp. He was pretty legit. And Shawnee, what do you think? Anything more to add to that? I mean, I think the idea that he's like, Bedard's a superstar and he is so committed and he's going to work at his game and just reaffirming, hey, we got the right guy here. But was there anything else that you heard that really resonated with you?
I liked what he said when he's trying to make everybody on the team the best version of themselves. Like he's trying to make everyone better, whether it's Connor Bedard or get the best output of Nick Foligno. Everybody's got to be learning. And when we're winning, that's when development happens. Like he said that, like there's like, you've got to be able to do the right things, practice the right way, like do everything the right way. And then winning's going to start happening. And that's when development's going to start happening. Yeah. Because people kept asking him, what's the balance between development and winning? And he didn't see that there was any difference. He thought development was winning. Development comes with winning. So I really like that. And like, he liked the job. He liked the skaters. He mentioned just like working with John Cooper, seeing what a winning team went through and just like things of that nature. Like I thought he was really good. And I didn't realize just how, like, he'd been an NHL coach for 7 years before this. I didn't realize. And he even said that this
10 years in the league.
Yeah. This part of the rebuild with the Hawks is different than the rebuild that he was with the Detroit. They're at different places. Yeah. So, yeah.
One thing I want to add is that he also mentioned by name some of the stars that he's worked with, like Kucherov and Zetterberg and Datsuk, and how
he mentioned,
and how they have different work ethics and different strengths, and working with them and how they're coached. So it's interesting how he has that exposure that he can sort of lean into when it comes to coaching Bedard and others who he thinks that are, potential superstars on this team. So, I mean, he seems very, very bullish about the talent. And, I like the fact that he wants to establish a culture. And, he really was also very, very clear about his connection to all the coaches that he's bringing in or that have been announced, like specifically Sorensen. Like Saravelli said it afterward, that he's like, it's not that Sorensen was like the previous guy and was just going to be plopped in and say, okay, here you go. We like you. We want to keep you. There's a relationship there and there's a trust there. So so I think it's everything all around sounded really good today.
Yeah. Excellent. There's still some assistants to be hired. I mean, we're still not there. Michael Pekka is going to be on the staff. Did I say that correctly? That's kind of cool.
And then Jimmy Waite's going to remain the goalie coach.
Yes, I did see that. And we still don't know who's coaching in Rockford though next year. Do we, Jimmy? That hasn't been announced yet?
No, that has not been announced.
Eaton still have a shot to keep that gig, or what's the deal?
You know what? I'll say it on the show. I'm an advocate for Mark Eaton. Yeah. I think he's mentioned in the past he really wants to be a head coach in hockey. He enjoys it. This was a great chance for him. And you look at what he was able to do in Rockford. He had a better win percentage as a head coach this year than Sorensen did in Rockford. He swept the Chicago Wolves. He took the Milwaukee Admirals to 5 games. I mean, I'm sure it was a 2-0 series lead and they couldn't finish it out. But I put that more on Milwaukee having been off off the ice for 2 weeks. Rockford had just come off a series, so they were a little hot. Milwaukee's a powerhouse. They're hard to beat. Taking them 5 is a huge accomplishment on its own. So I wouldn't mind Mark Eaton back in the ranks.
There. Good. Excellent. Great. Well, Jeff Blashill, the Jeff Blashill era is up and rolling. Here we go. Big time stuff. Now, what else is big time stuff is for the first time in 93 years, Team USA Hockey has won the IIHF, the International Ice Hockey Federation World Championships. The first time in 93 years, which is wild to think about. I didn't even know they were doing this 93 years ago. Pretty cool. With that, 2 Blackhawks, Frankie Nazar and Alex Vlasic, were really big parts of that. Frank Nazar was their leading scorer. Didn't he lead with 12 points? He and Tage Thompson, 12 points each, I believe it was. That's huge. Alex Vlasic wearing number 73 in the tournament because Tage Thompson was wearing 72, but we know him as 72. Anyway, really big for these guys. It clearly meant a lot to them. The game against Switzerland that they won in overtime was huge. Big moment for these guys. Is this a Frank Nazar coming out party of sorts? Or is it kind of like, are we the only ones really paying attention to this? Shawnee, what do you think?
I think we're the only ones paying attention to this. Buchagras made a big deal about it. Sorensen mentioned it in his presser too. Like, hockey, people who are dialed into the hockey world understand this. And like, we're dialed into Nazar and Alex Vlasic, but like Reichel had a good tournament. Like, remember a few years ago, Kevin Lankinen had a huge world championship and everyone thought he was the next coming of Dominic Hasek. Like, people are just at this tournament. It's fine. It's great that they won. It's great that they played in a high pressure situation at a high level, but like, not everybody's NHL players. None of these guys are like, some of these guys are AHL guys. Some of these guys aren't even, I think we're making a bigger deal out of it than it actually is in terms of the individuals that we're talking about.
Okay. Gotcha. Now, segue to that though. I like it. Is there any hope with the Olympics coming up in 2026? Is there any hope now that they've got some international chips in there that Nazar and Alex Vlasic will be considered for making the U.S. Olympic team? Bardo, what do you think?
I think it's possible. I think it depends how they do in the NHL. I think certainly having a good run the last couple of weeks certainly helps. I also think that, just to build on what Shawnee was saying about Nazar, I think the truth kind of lies somewhere in the middle with that, because I would be a little concerned, given the level of competition that he faced in some games, if he didn't play well. But to me, a lot of these international things are like glorified all-star games is what they are. So, right. I mean, and in some cases it's all-stars against maybe even just like AHL caliber talent. Yeah. So, so I'd be concerned if he's an offensive player and he didn't have, a good tournament. So, I mean, look, Alex,
really good skater, Olympic ice. It's a much bigger sheet at this tournament. He should be produced.
All that, yes, and all that is true. And I think, look, it's going to depend on how he builds on this. I mean, if he goes into the NHL and has a 30 goal season or whatever, or breaks out in the next couple of seasons, then you know what? He's going to be looked at as a possibility. But for right now, I think we got to pump the brakes on it.
Yeah. Now let's talk about Vlasic, Jimmy, and I agree with you, Bardo. I agree. I think there's going to be a lot of forwards. I mean, Tage Thompson felt snubbed that he wasn't in the Four Nations. There will be forwards that were in the Four Nations that won't be back. I mean, who knows if they're going to go with a guy like JT Miller. Brock Nelson might not be in that tournament again. I would have a hard time believing that, a player like, for heaven's sake, why Chris Kreider will be back. in that fold? Will they be looking for better skaters, and is Nazar someone they would even consider? On the defensive side of things, though, Jimmy, I mean, what do you think Vlasic's chances are? Because, I mean, I wouldn't put an Eric Fox in the Olympic tournament ahead of Vlasic. I'd be, I don't know. I mean, there's probably, would Jake Sanderson go ahead of him? Maybe. The other one that was left out of the Four Nations, who's having an unreal playoffs right now, is unfortunately a guy named Seth Jones. But what do you think of Vlasic's chances, Jimmy?
Not the next Olympics. I think that's just the simplest way to put it. Not saying he had a bad tournament. It wasn't as exciting as Frank Nazar's. But you got to remember the IIHF USA team was extremely young. Like the average age was 24.8. Like that team was young. And like this team was extremely young, which tells me
I said Adam.
I heard Eric.
It probably was Eric. Eric Fox. You know what was funny? I have a friend named Eric Fox. It was definitely I said Eric Fox. It meant Adam Fox. Shut up, Kate. Pretty tough.
Yeah, I don't see it this coming Olympics. He has such a hill to climb if he wants that consideration. Now, the next Olympics, when he's mid to late 20s, reaching his prime, there's a realistic possibility. I could see him being that kind of defensive shutdown, third pairing Olympic defenseman that every Olympic team dies for, that makes or breaks a game against Canada, for like in the semifinal or gold medal match. So I don't put it past the next Olympics, but the upcoming Olympics for Vlasic, I give like less than 1%.
Or the next Four Nations or the next World Cup of Hockey or whatever.
Probably, yeah. He needs more of an international showcase against more upper crust NHL level.
He'd make Team North America.
More seasoned talent. Yeah, Team North America.
Well, if we're assuming that the Blackhawks are still going to be in sort of like not great, then that's going to be tough for him it's going to be a tough sell to say he's one of the best shutdown defensemen, yet the team stinks. I mean, yeah, the analytics people may be, all over that and say he deserves it, and rightly so, but you have to think about it from a marketing perspective. That's tough. I mean, yes, he does play in Chicago, but for the team not being good, assuming it's not good, that's going to be a tough sell.
I will say not this Olympics, but the next one. If we're talking in,
I think you're right. 2030
or 2028 or whenever the next international competitions are, one of two, Sam Rinzel or Alex Vlasic, is going to be there.
Yeah, and it all depends on the coach too. The coach and the general manager of Team USA. Like, remember when Dan Bilesma was the coach? He was picking like every Penguin he could find was on that team, and they got bounced early. So.
Well, here's one thing I'll throw out there. Blashill, remember, has international experience, so you wonder if his influence is going to weigh in on that in any way, shape, or form.
And so, he did, Bardo, I did forget to mention this. He did mention that he knew a lot of the Blackhawks players too, because when he worked in Detroit, the U.S. National Development Team's programs rink was right like
5 minutes away from
his house, so he was always at that rink too, watching the young guys.
Yeah.
And I think he has coached with the coaches on Team USA before.
Yeah, he was an assistant from 2017 to 2019, I believe, in the IIHF tournament. So he's had 3 years.
We'll see what his influence is.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Well, either way, cool for them to win gold. I mean, a really great experience. Get some wins in there, I don't know. Pretty cool that they were a part of that, and something for their mantle, something for their war chest, if you will. Let's talk. Last week we talked about Mitch Marner a little bit and the possibility of a fit for the Blackhawks, and so we want to. There's another UFA to be name that is out there in a kind of in a different context. I mean, Mitch Marner was stay away, he's bad in Game 7, blah blah blah. Now it's what do you pay for Sam Bennett's services? Sam Bennett, I think he's leading the NHL in goals this playoffs. Is that right? I think that's right, or I saw that on Twitter somewhere. At any rate, there's some people that are saying that he will get a raise and have a $9 to $10 million per year salary. is this a fit for the Blackhawks? Any UFA is a fit for the Blackhawks now, just because they can pay for anybody, I guess you could say. Are you interested in where does he go, and is he worth that kind of money? I'm gonna go back to Jimmy on this one because we don't want to go Jimmy last all the time. Jimmy's got good insight too, even though Bard's on a roll tonight. Bard, stay hot. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I was pounding the table for Sam like months ago. I think I mentioned talking about how much I like the guy. That being said, it's to me there's a disconnect between how much I want him and how much I want to pay. I'm willing to pay him. Like when I hear Sam Bennett for 10 million AAV, I shudder. Like I'm no, thank you. Like that's a lot for a guy that I don't even think has reached 60 points in a regular season in his career. This guy is a playoff.
Wow.
I think he maxed out like 58, if I'm remembering correctly. Wow. Someone could always fact check me on that, but he doesn't have the most impressive regular season numbers. He is like the opposite of Mitch Marner, really. Like Mitch Marner can get 100 points, but games 5 through 7, he'll disappear. Bennett opposite. He gets 55 points, and then playoffs, he's awesome.
Yeah, 51 is his career high.
51 is his career high.
And it was this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the Florida Panthers, the biggest wagon the NHL has.
Right.
So do I want him on the Blackhawks? Sure. Absolutely. I would take him at, 7x8. I think he really does play that physical game. He's a decent skater. He could put the puck in the net, even though he really maxes out at 50 points. And even as his, skills decline of age, look at Brad Marchand. Like he's fit in perfectly at 37 years old of Florida. I really think at 35, 36, Sam Bennett can be that. That being said, we don't need playoff warriors because we're not in the playoffs. Like you can't be like, oh, let's get this guy for future playoff runs when, okay, you got to get there first.
You got to get there.
Yeah, you got to get there first. And I'm not saying Sam Bennett can't help you get to the playoffs. He really can't. But he's that ace in the hole you have for playoff series. He's not the headliner. Like in Florida, he's not even the headliner. And who you have in Florida? You got, Reinhart and Barkov, like for Hagee, like they got some real headliners, and Sam Bennett sometimes like sneaks under the radar, and that's why his numbers are insane.
Yeah.
Would I trust Sam Bennett right now as a second line center of the Blackhawks for the long term and be that playoff guy? No. I see him more as that shutdown third line center, for the long term of his career on this team with guys like Nazar and Bedard above him. That, and with that, I'm not paying a $10 million for a guy I see on the third line center two-way role in his mid-30s, even if he still plays at a Marchand level. So, keep this long ramble short. I love Sam. I love him to death. I want him on the Blackhawks. I don't want 10 million AAV Sam on the Blackhawks because, again, playoff warrior means nothing to a team that has finished third, second, and second to last in the last 3 seasons. Like it doesn't excite me enough to make me want to pay him that.
Yeah. Bart, are you feeling this? Would you rather pursue other guys to kind of get you to the point where you're more competitive as opposed to the win now player that Sam Bennett seems to be?
Yeah, I mean, because of the price, and I'm with you, Jimmy. I think he's just on the open market. He's going to want, anywhere from 9.5 to 10.5 million a year, and that's just not something I'm willing to. And I love the guy. I mean, he could play him in so many situations. I just think, given his age, and it's just a tough thing to swallow. I mean, he's going to be expensive. I mean, in my opinion, I think he's going to go back to Florida. I think he's going to go back on an $8 million a year thing. I mean, we see this happening all the time with free agent classes that all of a sudden just shrink as we get closer to the July 1st date because a lot of these guys just end up staying. They just realize that it's just for an extra 1 to 2 million AAV. I'd rather not go into, hockey purgatory. I'd rather, stay with what I know. My family's here and it's a winning culture, et cetera. So I think Sam Bennett will be off the market before July 1 anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I mean, then it's like, okay, then what? Because I'm not sure that, and we're probably going a little off topic, but, Bosner from Vancouver is the way to go. Yes, he's a goal scorer, but he doesn't really drive play.
Besser? You mean Brock Besser?
Yeah, him too.
Osner, Besser, Eric Fox,
Aaron Fox, Aaron Fox. Yeah, but I'm just not sure he's going to be. He just feels very one-dimensional to me. So, I mean, it's again. I don't. I know they have to spend money, but maybe once again, the trade market is the way to go.
Yeah, I think. I mean, if you're Florida, I think you prioritize Sam Bennett, bringing him back over Ekblad.
Of course.
No, I think Seth Jones was dealt to Florida for this year, but also for the future, because I think they're going to let Ekblad walk.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to have to. I think I mean, you've got Jones, Forsling, Mikula, Kulikov all coming back under contract.
Yeah.
So
plus like two of their best prospects are defensemen. Like one's in Russia right now, and the other.
And the best thing to happen for Florida, regardless of how far they go from here, is Jones having a good postseason, because now they have an argument where they can say, you know what, we don't need Ekblad, we got Jones.
Right.
Yeah. And even in the games where Ekblad has not been available, they've been just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suspended, and and they could. I mean, you bring back Bennett, you bring back Marchand, you're right back in it.
Yeah. And back to Bennett to the Hawks. Bennett doesn't score enough goals. The Hawks didn't score enough goals to begin with last year. They need a goal scorer, and Bennett doesn't score enough goals to help the team get better.
Yeah, like he scores goals at the same rate that Tyler Bertuzzi does.
Yeah, and we already have that guy.
I mean, I don't think. Also, if you're Sam Bennett, why? I mean, I can.
Why are you leaving Florida?
I can understand the Mitch Marner to Chicago. The minute Florida puts down a number for, if you're Sam Bennett, just be like, all right, I think I should stick around.
South Beach, the exact same thing played out last season. I mean, remember last year, Sam Reinhart, Brandon Montour. Who look at Reinhart. He's going to be a big free agent. Then he re-signs immediately. Montour's out the door. Same exact thing is probably going to happen this year. Bennett, Ekblad. Everyone's like, ooh, Bennett's going to be a big fish. Nope, they're going to pay him 2 days before free agency, and Ekblad's going to be the only one available.
Yeah, Lord Hossa joins us tonight. I like this. This is a nice take. Target Ehlers. Would love to have Ehlers. Yep. Re-sign Donato. Should happen. Probably is going to happen. Better happen. Trade up for Misa. Man, that was a hot topic right before we got in line, or before we jumped on. Whatever it takes in assets, maybe some D prospects. Save the UFA targeting for next offseason and target Kyle Connor would be on his wish list.
I like this. I like this take. Couple things though. Ehlers, didn't he just have a career season?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that worries me because it's his walk year. So it's like expecting that again, or is he going to get paid off of a walk year? I like Ehlers, but that to me is a little bit of a worry. The other thing is when you save the money for the unrestricted free agent targeting for next offseason, goes to what I was saying earlier. Most of those guys are not going to make the market. They're just not.
No, they won't. There's too much time.
Too much time. So they're either going to get traded. The only way you can look at the next year on unrestricted free agent market is either potentially trade them because the team knows a year from now they're not going to re-sign them. So you trade them and then acquire them, extend them. Let's Connor McDavid, for example. He's not going anywhere probably, but if they decide, if he said, you know what, I'm going to play out my contract, then you know what, or if he requests a trade, then teams should line up, trade him, and then extend him. So. But unrestricted free agency, winning next year is not really going to be a winning game for them.
No, what is interesting is this take on trading up for Misa, and not like, will the Hawks be able to trade up in this draft? Likely not. We don't know. Maybe it's a possibility. We talked about that before the show, that maybe if they really want Misa and they've got to do it, they do have the D prospects to make some movement. And Sean, I just want to bring up this point. This wasn't going to be part of the show, but they might have to move some D prospects probably this summer.
Yeah.
If not before the draft, somewhere along the line, they don't have, I don't know, they might not have the room. They don't have the room for all of them to wait for all of them in a certain, Allen might be one.
Yeah. Allen.
Expendable right now.
Kaiser's going to be a restricted free agent.
Kaiser, you probably move Kaiser.
You played Wyatt Kaiser like you wanted him to get minutes to trade him, in my opinion. I don't see Wyatt Kaiser long.
Because it's Leshanov, Rinzel, Korchinski he's probably staying. So those are your big three. And then from the pool of Kaiser, Vlasic too. And then Kaiser, Nolan Allen, who else?
Del Mastro.
Del Mastro. Yep.
Yeah.
Those are one of those guys won't be with the Blackhawks next year.
Well, and Crevier could be on the move. I mean,
He's also an RFA.
He could be. I don't know what you get for a 7th rounder that really overachieved.
I don't know. I feel like Crevier, he made some really good strides this year. I thought he had a pretty good season.
Oh, I mean, I gave him an A.
Jimmy, what'd you give him for a letter grade?
I gave him an A.
You gave him an A. Yeah. I mean, he had a
plus, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Connor Murphy's like McNaughty and.
Well, let's talk about this.
That movie, you can't get anything for him right now.
Frank Saravelli put out his list of top 20 guys that can be traded, and Connor Murphy was number 8 on that list.
Top 20 in an NHL?
Yep.
Yeah.
And ironically, what I said earlier to you guys in our private chat is that it's interesting that both Foligno and Murphy were at the intro press conference, and I wonder if that means that Murphy may not be going anywhere.
Right.
And then, like half hour later, Saravelli's list comes out.
Right.
So,
what can you get for Connor Murphy? I mean, I'm sorry, but the guy's never been in the playoffs.
You're not going to get anything.
He's never healthy.
He can barely play. He won't play a full season the rest of his career.
No.
I don't know.
He's
You
right
ranked him
now.
8?
He makes more sense as a deadline piece where you're looking at a competing team that's like, oh, we need more defensive depth. Can you swallow half his contract? We'll give you
last year of his deal too, right?
Yeah, it's last year of his deal. To me, he's almost the opposite of Seth Jones, even though ironically Seth Jones was traded in season. But I remember before the deadline, I said Seth Jones makes more sense trading in the offseason. Murphy's the opposite. Murphy's the guy that you shouldn't have too much time to think about if you want to acquire him. It should be, it's a trade deadline. We need some defensive veteran depth that can, block shots. Sure, he's not super healthy, but hey, he's been pretty decently healthy this season, hypothetical in the 26th deadline. Right. Maybe we can throw a third or a second for him. We ask for them to retain part of his contract.
Well, he's in the last year of his deal coming up, isn't he?
Yeah, 2025-26 is his last year.
Yeah, then it could be deadline.
It's at 4.5, I think, or something.
I think it's.
I mean, I don't know. What do you get it back?
It's over 4.
Okay.
But was he an assistant captain? Is that why
he does wear the A?
So that's probably why he was at the presser today.
Yeah. Well, he also lives in Chicago. Like him and Foligno live in Chicago.
Isn't he an Ohio boy? Yeah, I mean he's a Midwestern dude, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't. I mean, he's like, do they have any veteran defenseman under contract other than him and TJ Brody?
No, he'll be bought out.
Yeah,
he'll be bought out.
I am in the camp of do not trade Murphy because you don't have anyone to hold it down. I mean, unless you're like, oh yeah, we can get Ekblad in the summer, we won't. When Murphy's redundant,
it's not worth it.
I don't think it's worth it.
I would go for like another 2-year deal on a guy that's not as old as Brody and finished as Brody, but somebody who is somewhat of a veteran presence that maybe you want to do it, Jimmy?
Brian Dumoulin, he's my guy.
There you go.
That's my
take. I like that.
I love Brian Dumoulin for this team.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, I mean, Aaron Ekblad turns 30 in February. Someone is gonna overpay big time for him.
I'm gonna go and put it out there. Edmonton.
Really?
Yep.
All right, that could make sense.
They love Ekholm. I mean, it kind of plays a similar game. More defensive side. I think Ekblad has a better shot on that, but they like those kind of guys. Mm-hmm. I think it's Ottawa. Ottawa wants that next step guy, and I think they want on the defensive end. It'll probably be Ekblad to them.
I think that's one wants to get to the next level and have somebody who is a winner and comes from a winning culture. I think that's interesting.
Bardo, the next one's for you. You ready?
I'm ready.
Lord Hossa, thank you for your questions tonight. Here we go. Hypothetically, if the New York Islanders are on the phone regarding the first overall being moved, and they say they want 3rd overall and Korchinski to make it work, so you make the trade and bet on Del Mastro, Allen, Kaiser, etc. Do you do it?
I mean, I would.
I
really?
would.
No, I'm a no.
I'm a no.
I would do it.
I'm very much a Korchinski defender.
But this team is so many prospects and so many picks that I'm not really worried. I'm not going to flinch.
Well, Schaefer is not a consideration for the Blackhawks.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
No.
So they're not going to draft him. Is getting Misa more important than what you would get at 3 with Hagens, Frondell, Martone, any of those guys? Is that important enough to lose Kevin Korchinski? And that's the question.
I would say
I don't know that it is.
I say no.
Well, yeah.
I'm so I mean this. I'm so high on Frondell and even Hagens that the idea of losing Korchinski, who I think he's got he had a tough, rep. I think he has a tough rep just because of his rookie season. It was bad. We all know it, but I got a ton.
He's younger than a lot of their prospects.
He is.
Yeah, he's what, 21?
He's younger than all 3 of those defensemen on that list.
Let me tell you this.
And he's a better skater than those guys.
Here's why I'm a little worried about it. Maybe it's because here's why I'm a little worried on it. Maybe it's because I'm fresh off reading. I read again for the second time over the weekend the Frondell piece by Pronman in The Athletic. And, the risk on him, it's like, okay, he could be Kopitar, he could be Bergeron, or he could be just, a middle 6 guy. That to me is just, oh God, like I want a guy who none of these guys are guaranteed. They're all prospects, so proven otherwise. I don't know. I just think you have so many prospects in your system. Like if I'm more wowed by guys like Vlasic, the little samples that we've seen of Levshinov and Rinzel than I am of Korchinski. So therefore, I feel like I can take Korchinski and I can trade him and I can get something for him. That's my thing. If he is the 4th best guy, I would like to trade him for a guy who I think is going to be a top line player.
Then your next best left-handed defenseman prospect is probably Del Mastro behind Vlasic
right now, but you're not throwing everything based on all the prospects that you are seeing right now, because we don't know what's coming down the pike between prior draft classes, the current draft class, etc. I mean, look, none of us thought Vlasic was going to be what Vlasic is right now.
No, not at all.
These guys can develop in all different ways. So we don't know what Korchinski's peak is. So if I have an opportunity to go up to number 1, and I am damn sure, meaning me, Blackhawks scout, thinks that Misa is going to be the guy, I'm doing it. Yeah. I'm sorry, you got to give to get. So,
and the Blackhawks are devoid.
I'm still not doing it, but I understand your point. I'm still not doing it, but
the Blackhawks are devoid of offensive.
I can understand that.
Yeah. Like they need another offensive top tier prospect. That's the whole goal of this draft. Right. Whether it's Michael Misa or James Hagan, they need somebody else in that, because that's what's lacking from their prospect pool. So if you have to take from the depth of their defensive pool to make that move, I think you make the move. I agree with Bardo.
I like that too. I think I do want Misa more than anybody in the draft. He probably won't be. He won't be there at 3. It's all signs say that he probably will not be there at 3. At the same time, I think the other thing, to think about though, is that James Hagens 6 months ago was supposed to go number 1 overall. He still might be there at 3.
Yeah.
He still might be a pretty darn good option.
Oh, look, I would, if you're telling me that Frondell is going to be what Jimmy and the, the highest ceiling for him is going to be, I'm taking him absolutely at 3. Mm-hmm. But, look, I'm not really concerned about Hagens and the size. A lot of people are saying that, they need another smallish center. That to me is whatever. I'm not really worried about that. But I'm sorry. I just think that the opportunity to, if they can move up and take from a strength, which is your defense, and move up and go get a guy like Misa, do it.
Interesting. Well, let's suggest for a minute that the Hawks stay on the clock at number 3, which in all likelihood is probably what's going to happen. We don't know, but it's probably what's going to happen. Jimmy's going to run us through a prospect who has come up a lot of time. And actually some fans are saying this is the kind of guy we need. This is the kind of muscle. This is the kind of goal scoring touch that we need. And it's Porter Martone. And Porter Martone, interesting prospect, was on the World Junior team, had a pretty good year in the OHL. And Jimmy, walk us through Martone, why he would be a fit, why he would not be a fit. Talk about his intangibles, and let's see where we go with this.
All right. Let's just start with his measurements, stats, and rankings. I think the big thing is right there in front of you at 18 years old. He's 6'3", 207 pounds. Like this guy is
The man.
a man. Like we talked about Anton Frundell being a man. I mean, a boy in a man's body. Porter Martone is somehow a boy in a Goliath's body. I mean, he is a tank. Like he's physically a tank, and he's a right-handed right winger. He is purely a winger. He doesn't play center. So that is what you're going to get with Martone. Last 2 years in the OHL, he's had over 33 points in the last 2 seasons. This last year almost got to 100 points in 57 games. In terms of prospect rankings, as compared to guys like Dejonair and O'Brien, he blows them out of the water. Consolidated ranking.
I'm not O'Brien.
Shut up. Anyway, Consolidated rankings had him at 4, Elite Prospect 3, Mackenzie Button and Ray Dory all had him at 4. They are a lot of scouts and a lot of analysts are really, really high on this guy. And why is that? Well, of course, let's go to the Hockey Writers scouting report made by our good friend who I can't pronounce, the good old Pete B. This is back on March 19th. He says he plays
Barricini.
Pete Barricini. March 19th. This is his
Barracuda.
scouting report.
Barracuda. Ding, 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 ding.
Come
I'm
on. He says he plays a physical and intense brand of hockey, always playing with a great amount of pace in the offensive zone, getting under the opponent's skin, mixing up and making a living in front of the net. Whenever he has a chance, he won't pass up laying the body as he can make heavy, punishing hits as he has that mean side and edge to his game. Martone isn't the quickest skater, and he does need to improve his agility and foot speed, but he makes up for it with his deceptive and high-end puck control. He's a nightmare for defenders as he's difficult to contain with his hands in tight spaces and ability to get around players with ease. His size allows him to shield the puck extremely well, driving to the high danger area and power through the open ice. Now, this is what Peter said were his strengths. He said they were work ethic, competitive drive and strong mentality, physical presence, excellent hands and puck control, playmaking vision, excels in the tight spaces and in front of the net. Weaknesses, as he mentioned before, he needs to add speed and agility. He's not a great skater. He gets away with it with his size, but in the NHL, he's going to need to get better on his skates, and he needs a better shot selection. He has a tendency to just shoot from where he is and hope for the best. He just needs to be a little bit more selective. And now, comparisons and projections, I got a decent amount of them. I even have my own. Peter, as I just mentioned, compared him to both Kachucks, Brady and Matthew. And not just him, Ben Kerr, Last Word on Sports, also gave him the Kachuk brothers comparison. But as he said in the second sentence, you read there, this is merely a stylistic one and not a projection of his skill and ability, though. So it is just a play style thing. It is not a projection. And then Rachel Dory, she had 2 very interesting comparisons. She had Corey Perry, which I'm assuming is like early 2010s Corey Perry, Anaheim Duck Corey Perry, and not what we're seeing in Edmonton Corey Perry.
Not the one who had dinner with the Hawks, Corey Perry. Got it. Okay.
Too many drinks at dinner.
We don't talk about that. Sorry. And she also compared him to Tom Wilson, which, if you remember Tom Wilson in the beginning of his career, he was bad. Like, he was a bad player for 2 years and then figured it out. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah.
So in terms of projections, Rachel Dory, again, top 6 forward with a legitimate chance to be a top line winger. Kyle Peterka of FC Hockey, this is back in January. He said, leaning more towards the second line with power play upside. But this was back in January. He might have changed his opinion. Mm-hmm. And then Ben Kerr, once again, he said he has the potential to be a top line winger who plays in all situations and is a real problem for the other team. I have another comparison, and Blackhawks fans may like this one. Who knows? But I'm thinking Anaheim Duck, Edmonton Oiler, Pat Maroon. You know, when he would remember when he was in Edmonton, he was on a line with Draisaitl and McDavid, and he would just park his big ass in front of the goaltender, and he would just get all his goals off rebounds. That's kind of what I see Porter Martone being. Just that, almost Dustin Byfuglien when he was with the Blackhawks, kind of just park your big ass in front of the net and just pick up on rebounds and block the goaltender. So that's kind of my personal comparison for him. Yeah. Now, final notes, just quick wrap up on Porter Martone. physical play and size, it makes up for his lack of skating ability. But my God, you got to get better at skating because that size is not, people are going to catch up with you physically in the NHL. He's very cerebral. He really does know how to predict what his teammates and opponents will do. He knows the game probably more than anyone else on that ice. He causes a ton of chaos in front of the net. He's a two-way skater. You can trust him on the power play and penalty kill. And he's a top 6 winger. But in my opinion, I think it genuinely just is safer to project him as a second-line winger than first-line winger at this point. Not saying he can't, but I give it more like 60-40 second-line winger to first-line winger at this point. So
all right.
That's what I got for Porter Martone.
Yeah, does he fit philosophically with where Kyle Davidson is? And I think that's the biggest question. Oh boy. Yeah, no.
I knows here.
Sean, you seem
he can't. Kyle Davidson's philosophy is you have to be able to skate well, right? Sasha Voivert. The only guy who really can't skate well is going to work on it is Connor Bedard. Everybody else, Oliver Moore, Sasha Voivert.
You muted yourself. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, getting handsy. Jack, whatever his name at BU, Ryan Green. Like all those guys can skate well. Porter Martone cannot skate well. And that's a huge red flag for me. Mm-hmm. This reeks of Dylan Strome without the scoring touch. Dylan Strome can't skate well. Neither can Porter Martone. That's the connection right there. That's what I stay away from this guy. I do not draft him.
Whoa.
On Porter Martone.
Bardo. What do you think of Sean's reaction?
Yeah, I agree. I said I'm not taking a guy who can't skate well, 3rd overall. I would give him a more of a shot if he was a center, but the fact that he's a pure and pure play winger, I'm not doing it. I'm not taking a guy who could be Tom Wilson, 3rd overall. Yeah, yes, there's a chance that he can be one of the Kachuk boys, but there's too many buts, and it's just too risky for me.
I mean, you would think that if this is who Kyle Davidson really wants, I mean, he better be listening to phone calls from everyone else who has a pick 4 through 10 to be like, I mean, couldn't you trade back and get this guy?
Yes.
I think so.
I
think you could trade back to 5th. And because I think like Higgins would go 3rd, Frondell could go 5th, or even Desharnais, and then you could have Martone at 5th.
Yeah. I agree that the Blackhawks need a little bit more bulk. They need bulk, and they need someone nasty who plays with an edge. Comparing them to the Kachuk brothers, I'm not buying it because they're good skaters. Mm-hmm. They are. Like Matthew Kachuk can really skate. And so that comparison. Tom Wilson is sneaky fast as well. I mean,
and even prime Corey Perry was nuts. Like, people really forget because it's been over a decade since we saw prime Corey Perry. But I mean, from the Stanley Cup in 2007 to 2015, he was absurd. Yeah. Like he was, we look at him now, he's like, God, he looks like he's skating in sand. But like prime Corey was wild. Like, he was an Art Ross winner. That's how good he was.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this just, when Martone's name comes up in the Blackhawks draft room, so it's just like onward, next. Because this is not what we're trying to build here. I mean, Sean, to your point, all about the skating philosophy. And I don't know. I mean, I know we're going to get into Frondell, we're going to get into Higgins and there's also something to say for if you're going to have the 3 overall pick, finding another center, the best center in the draft might be a little bit more of a priority, considering that all these rumblings, maybe Bedard's not a center. Maybe Nazar's not a center. I mean, it sounds like every young player they have that's a center, it's like maybe not. I mean, the only real center that is a natural pivot that has been playing the center position consistently, you're like, this guy is a center, is Ryan Green, but he's not your 1 or 2 center of the future.
Mm-hmm. And he's been here for 2 games, so who knows?
I mean, he looks like he belongs, but you never know.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, when I look at Martone, I see a floor that is through the floor. Like, the thing about guys that can't skate is if you can't skate, you don't learn to skate, you just get skated around, man. Like, you become almost useless. We've seen it over and over. I mean, we saw it with Kirby Dach. And I mean, now Kirby Dach has multiple knee injuries. He'll never be the same skater again. But even when he was the Blackhawks, he wasn't the best skater, and we saw it. And we just saw people skate circles around him in the defensive zone. He just could not keep up. And his ceiling, we knew his ceiling couldn't get reached because his skating never got better from when he was in juniors. And I'm really afraid of that for Martone. I really am. Because if your best thing you can do is park yourself in front of the goaltender, or just park yourself in a certain spot in the defensive zone and hope you can just block shots with your size and get guys out of the way with your size, I think you're limited. And I think if you can't get really good at very specific skill sets that complement your size and disguise your lack of speed, you're done for.
Yeah.
I just also think that if you want a guy who is that big and can't skate, you could find that in free agency. I mean, there are guys out there. You can go find an Anthony Mantha or something like that. I mean, I know he's 30, but it's
Jimmy brought up Pat Maroon. He was drafted in the 6th round.
Right, exactly. You can find those guys. This is where you need to get impact centers. And this is like, okay, I'll take my shot here at Frondell over Porter Martone, 100%. Because I know he's going to be a center. And even if he's a middle 6 center, he probably still has value as a center and will do more for me than, a guy who can't skate.
Yeah, I would rather have Hagens, Denway, or Frondell over this guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what. I mean, and he could pan out. He could be great. Who knows? I'm
not taking that risk.
Yeah.
Not at 3.
You can't.
Yeah, I don't know.
Especially considering like you're supposed to be under upward trajectory, so you shouldn't theoretically be picking in the top 5 after next season.
Yeah,
you got to hit on this pick.
Yeah, this has got to be the cherry on top. I don't see Martone as the cherry on top.
Yes.
It's interesting. Martone rumors that he been offered $250,000 to play at Penn State next year. It should be interesting to see if he does that and does one year of development, making $200K before signing, because he cannot play in the AHL next year. He is ineligible to play in the AHL because playing in Brampton. Yeah.
Oh,
because he's playing CHL hockey. He's in the OHL, and so.
Yeah, he's too young.
He can't play. He can only play in the NHL, or he can play in college, or go back to his major junior team.
And another thing, I'm glad you kind of mentioned that. Another thing I noticed when I was reading scouting reports is that Martone is an older prospect compared to his peers. He has an October birthday. Not reading too much into it, but maybe his physical maturity just comes from being that much older than his peers. And I know we're thinking, okay, what's an October birthday? But remember who he's playing. He's playing in the CHL, the OHL. He's a guy born in October playing against guys that are probably born 2.5 years later, in like April of 2 years after he was born. And that can make a huge difference. You guys would probably remember, I had an older sibling, like 2.5 years, especially at that age, makes a huge difference. I got bullied a lot. Like the physical maturity, it's real at that age, and if Martone is just benefiting from the physical maturity and just being older and being bigger, I have my doubts, because like I mentioned earlier, you're not going to get away with that in the NHL when everyone's your size and everyone's a better skater.
Yeah.
It's like Kramer when he dominates the little kids in karate.
You're fighting children. They're all at the same skill level, Jerry.
Good stuff. We'll be back next week with more. Who do you have on tap next week for us, Jimmy?
I'll let you guys pick. Should I do Frondell or Hagens?
I'd like to hear more on Frondell before Hagens.
Anton Frondell next week, ladies and gentlemen.
As long as Sean and Bardo are good with that, I don't want to. Yeah, Frondell next week, and maybe we will do Ehlers next week for UFA, so we can hit you up with the draft.
Spoiler: he didn't have his career year this year.
He did not.
He did not. It's the second best season of his career, but it wasn't his best.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Do Ehlers or Besser? Do you want to do Besser, Bardo?
What's that?
Would you rather do Brock Besser?
Doesn't matter to me.
How about we do Frondell, Ehlers next week, the week after Hagen's, Besser.
Beautiful.
Love it. We are pairing.
Yeah.
Whatever you guys want,
yeah. Any other final thoughts, gentlemen? Or shout outs, if you will? Anything else?
One quick one I want to say, I mentioned this earlier. I saw Scott Wheeler's mock draft of the first round. He had the Blackhawks taking Anton Frondell third, and then he had the Blackhawks trading back from 25 with Philly and getting, I forget his name, but it was another center at 30. Huh. So very interesting. I think the reason he made the trade was because he had the Philadelphia Flyers taking Malcolm Spence 24, and he was like, Blackhawks are high on him. If he's not there at 25, they could trade back. Mm-hmm. So I found that very interesting. If you're listening now, if you want to take a look at Scott Wheeler's projected draft, I thought it was very interesting. I didn't see the trade details, but he said it was like trading back 5 spots, got a couple more draft.
Malcolm Spence headed to Ann Arbor next year to be a Michigan Wolverine.
Yeah. Good. Jack Nesbitt is another guy I'm looking at 25.
He keeps climbing and climbing. Everyone's talking about him.
Yeah, I'm interested in the guy. I wonder if he could be a guy.
Nesbitt. Yeah. I want to give a shout out to the Carolina Hurricanes for winning their first East Conference Championship game in 19 years.
Yeah.
Oh, brutal.
You want a fun stat with that? Before yesterday, the Cars movie premiere was more recent than their last Eastern Conference Final game.
Wow. Yeah, they hadn't won one since 2006 when Rod the Bod was captain.
Mm-hmm.
Now coach. It was the latest
on that team. Eric Cole, Riley Stillman's dad was it Corey Stillman? Yeah,
Corey Stillman.
Andrew Ladd,
young lad.
Yeah, he won his first
rookie phenom Cam Ward.
Cam Ward was a goalie, right?
Yeah. He didn't start. He wasn't the starter until the first round.
Blackhawks legend Cam Ward.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did he win the Conn Smythe that year?
I think he did as a rookie. Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah, I think it was him.
Yeah, he peaked that playoff.
That was absurd, though.
All right. Well, good stuff, guys. Great show, great analysis all around. Who's up for Twitter? Who's up for trivia next week? Bardo, you want it?
Sure.
Bardo's on for trivia next week. Jimmy will be released from the penalty box the week after, and he'll be back for trivia. But thanks everyone for joining us.
Your answers to less than 10, Jimmy.
He will. I don't know.
At 9. You were right on the board.
Guys. I know. I had 9.
9 times. But good show, everybody. And join us again next week. We'll have more on prospects, UFAs, and some more Hawks information. Until such time, on behalf of the Bard, Sean Fitzgerald, and Jimmy O'Malley, Esquire, I'm Andy Campbell. Take care, everyone. Have a good night.